For the sketch this week, we're going to be doing a value scale that you'll use in your drawing with pen. So the pens I'm using are these Micron pens. You can use any pen you have at home, and if you don't have access to pens, you can use a very sharp pencil. So I'll be using this 005, 01, 03, and then 05. And these are just different widths of the pen nib. So usually when I get new pens, I start any drawing, and some of these can be, I use these a lot, so some of these can be running out of ink. I usually do a little, here's a good one, 03, 01. I usually do something like this so I can kind of see the width of each, and then it makes it easier when I'm working. So sometimes I'll do this on the side of my paper, or I'll do the value scale on the side of my paper. So same thing, we're going from light to dark, and if you only have one kind of pen, that's fine. So with cross hatching, which is what we're going to be learning today, you're making these bold lines, right? Because pen makes bold lines. So instead of lightly, softly shading and fading things in with charcoal and pencil, pen doesn't have the ability to do that. It gives a different look. So we get darker and darker by cross hatching, which is just simply going like this, crossing your lines. And the more directions, I'm gonna go to my 001. That was my 005, and I'm gonna go to a darker pen here. The more directions you do the cross hatching in, the darker it gets. And then you can do the lines closer together, and that gets darker too. And then for something that's light or a highlight, obviously it can be the white of the paper or just a little bit of texture in here. I kind of like sometimes when pens are running out of ink, because you can get this like textury light look, which is kind of fun. Some people don't like it, but I always save pens that are running out of ink, which is why I sometimes try to go use one and it's not working. So you can do this very precisely, or you can do it, more like I'm doing it, kind of just getting the lines in there. And then you just keep going different directions. I usually start on the diagonal for whatever reason. There's no right or wrong way to do this. The cross hatching is really just going in all different directions to make your shadow shapes. And practice making these marks, these bold lines. And you can see like things like this are happening. If you don't like that, it's like where I put the pen down is darker. Practice making one straight line that's all the same width. Let me go to my 03, switching now to my 03, and we can see this is going to start getting darker. And the lines are more bold. So you can make them really close together. And everybody's going to have their own style. I'm talking while I'm drawing, so I'm not spending as much concentration as I normally would. On this one, I'm gonna show you a little bit how to fade out. So I'll make it darkest in this corner and fading to light in the bottom corner, or lighter. And then I'll do this way. And so you could have the lines not go all the way. So the lines going in this direction, I'm going to make different lengths. So it can kind of be the edge of a shadow shape that's maybe fading out. So it doesn't have to be exactly even the entire way you're shading it through. And that can give a really nice look. A more nuanced look. And then I'm gonna come this direction. I'm going over the edge so you can kind of see what I'm doing. And I'm not going all the way down. So practice making these more like nuanced shading. I don't think I've gone this way yet. I'm going horizontal. And then you can see how you can get really darker shapes and lighter shapes, and you can create more of an interesting edge. And then since my 05 pen isn't working, you're gonna just keep doing the same thing, but the lines are gonna get closer together, and you're gonna cross hatch in a lot more different directions to get it really dark. And you can do it fast or slow. You don't need to use a ruler or anything for this. Maybe I'll start dark up in this corner and I'll make this corner really dark. And sometimes I go one direction, or sometimes when I'm doing it quickly, you can go back and forth like this. You know, try all different things. Think about what we looked at, some of the drawings we looked at, and just experiment with it. You know, this is our first time using pen. This is why I think these value scales are so important, because it helps you learn the medium. It helps you figure out what the medium can do, and how dark you can get it, how light you can get it, before you actually go into your drawing and start drawing. And you can go back in the same direction if you want to make it even darker. And you can get obviously really dark with this to a solid black tone, where you can just be coming in and sort of filling in all that space and get it super dark. All right, so make your value scale. That's all for the sketch this week. And then you'll move on to doing your final drawing in perspective.